to the Lord himself. And we bring our gifts there so that he can receive them from us. But being the God who is so great and so gracious and so merciful and so loving, it isn't enough for him just to receive that praise from us and just to hear our grateful thanks for all the blessings which he has given to us, though we are the most unworthy. But because he is the God that he is, as he has revealed himself to us, he returns gifts to us. The very gifts that we bring, the bread, the wine, he says, this is me, my body, my blood. The concerns of our hearts, the fears that we have, the things that we come before him in our vulnerability and our weakness. As sinners that we are, having transgressed from the beginning, from Adam and Eve, being imperfect, being corrupt, being broken, and ultimately being mortals. All of this he accepts on himself as he was born a little babe in Bethlehem. And he grew up as one of us, 100% human like you and me. And also fully God like his Father. And so when we bring our little gifts, he gives us his great gift of himself, of everything he is, so that his grace might dwell in us in abundance. I have come, he said, that you may have life and have it in abundance. Right? A good measure, pressed down, flowing over, all those images of the grace of God. Those don't come by our efforts. Those come by our surrender. Those come by our humility. Those come by our giving of gifts to God and to one another. Those come by our hearing the word of the Lord, the law of the Lord, and keeping his commandments. And bringing that humility to him. If you would be my disciples, he said, you will take up your cross every day in Luke's gospel. Luke says, every day you will take up this sacrificial love to your own hurt. You will take up your cross every day and follow me. It's not a commandment, it's a test, like a scientific, like you test for something, right? If we're going to find any lead in this solution, then we're going to put these chemicals in there, and if it turns a color or something, I don't know, I'm not a chemist, then we know there's lead. If you would be my disciple, and you take up your cross and follow me, right, then the world will know that you are a Christian, that you are a disciple of Jesus Christ. If you bring these gifts, if you bring that cross in all these little ways, then you receive that great gift from God. Now, he'll give that gift to whoever he wants to give it. And some people labor their whole life, like St. Anthony in the desert, 17 years without any consolation. There's just work, just effort, constant effort, like a tree growing out in the wilderness somewhere, just pushing upward, moving around the rocks. If you've ever seen trees that grow on the cliffs, it's a hard place. But God's grace came to Anthony. And the grace comes like instantly, They know, and then maybe it fades, maybe it withdraws. And then they feel that terrible loss. That God, who once was so consoling of them, who was so present for them, now seems to be far up in the heavens, and the heavens are closed like a dome made out of brass. Your prayers go up and they just bounce back down. But no matter the situation, it is God who gives the gifts. It is God who saves. It is God who lifts us up. It is God who knows. It is God who rules. So when St. Paul talks in the epistle today about the law being given to the people of the covenant, and then he says, but it was given to them, and all it did was show that they were also sinners like the nations. And when we are given this great gift in the Holy Church of God's own body and blood, all it does is show that we're not God, that we stumble, that we fall, that we are not worthy of the gifts. Yet God commands us to come and receive them so that he may make us worthy. So St. Paul goes through and he says, you see, the point of the law was to prepare for the anointed one, the Messiah, Jesus Christ, so that that great grace of God could be given through the price of manumission, The redemption, the propitiation, it's translated different ways. The purchase of the slave away from his master, so that sin no longer rules over us. You remember sin. Remember in Genesis how it was crouching at the door of Cain's house there, waiting to devour him, right? And Cain went out and murdered his brother. You know, sin has been with us from the beginning of our civilization, of our human life, that we can remember to the longest memory that we have been broken and fallen and forgetful of God. But St. Paul says so the law is not to pick us up and put us back together again, but rather to guide us, to teach us, to lead us to the one who saves, to the God who himself takes our flesh and becomes one of us in order to save us. And what does he say, that Lord? He says, don't judge, and you won't be judged. He says in the gospel today, whatever you measure out against someone else will be measured back to you. If you have a grudge against someone, or more to the point, if you see someone who is imperfect and a sinner and who isn't, and you condemn them in your heart, you will be found guilty of that same sin. It's like the law of gravity in the spiritual world. If you drop a stone off the cliff, it falls down farther. If you judge someone, you are judged. Because you're in a state of mind in which you are not allowing God to rule and to give his gifts and to be the one who saves. But rather you are now taking it upon yourself to know better. You're taking it on yourself to know who's up and who's down, who's in and who's out. Who the hell do you think you are? St. Paul might say. But Jesus is much more irenic. He's much more peaceful. He says, so don't judge, you know. He even says in another place, I have not come to judge the world, but to save the world. We have not come to judge one another, but to be salvation toward one another. We have not come to be giving out rules and laws, and this is what you must do in order to be a good Christian, and this is all of this like intellectual soup that we can get lost in. We've come to be people who take that mind to which the law is given, who take that mind and that desire for the good things of God and for the good order of the kingdom, and for the angelic realm where everything is done exactly at the right time in the right place by the right being, to take all of that and bring it down to our human heart, bring it down into this kind of mud, you know. But we do it wisely. Jesus says we don't throw our pearls before swine or give what is holy to the dogs. Well, what's he talking about? You know the saying, if you put your pearls before swine, you lose your pearls and you end up covered in mud. You know, because if you start to take this treasure and this gift and just cast it about willy-nilly before the recipient is prepared to receive it or is of a character to receive it, then you have wasted something precious. We are given this gift of God as a precious gift, like pearls, that which is holy. And we are to preserve it in peace, in the depths of our heart, in quiet. And the world will see that we take up our cross to preserve that gift, to be holy ones before God. And the world will see, and then when we need to, we speak. When we need to, we say, hey, there's, like yesterday when I was checking into the hotel, are you here on business or for personal reasons? I'm on business, I guess. Business of the kingdom. What's your company? Saints and angels? I mean, what, the Holy Orthodox Church? I said, St. Basil. St. Basil Mission. You need to know about it. It's here in Bismarck. I'm an Eastern Orthodox priest, and I'm here to supply services for the mission. So I needed to say something. Right? I didn't walk in the lobby and say, hear ye, one and all. St. Basil Mission is beginning in Bismarck, North Dakota, and you all are welcome and invited. No, but I had to say, who are you? Why are you here? And it was such a joy. It was such an opportunity. Then I heard the best thing I've heard in a long time. The woman at the reception, she said, thank you for your service. You know how when a priest or a deacon hears that, like a veteran, or anybody, like any one of you, thank you for your service. Because you are taking your own heart and you are breaking it open in order to bring gifts to God. We don't just bring wheat and grapes. We take the wheat and we crush it and we grind it and we turn it into flour. And then we mix it with water and yeast and then we knead it together, and it's a lot of effort. It's a lot of work. And the grapes we crush underfoot and mash them up and then we leave them. We don't do anything to them. And they ferment and they become so perfect. Not too sweet, not too sour. This is our service. And this is what that nice woman at the desk thanked me for. It's not me, it's the grace of God. It's the grace of God which allows us to give these gifts. It's the grace of God which is returned to us. It is that redemption that is in Jesus Christ through his resurrection, who loved the world so much that he came as the Son of his Father, in obedience to his Father, to fulfill that law which was given, so that the world would not be judged, but rather it would turn from its wickedness and live. To him be glory, honor, and worship unto the ages of ages.